I want to go to you first, Tegan, and ask you a little bit about what it's been like to see this project come to fruition, and not just see it come to fruition, but helmed by Clea DuVall, your friend, and then Railey and Seazynn playing you and Sara, and then Kobe Smulders playing your mom. I mean, it just gets better and better. And
don't even don't get Seazynn and I talking about Kobe, because that's all we'll talk about. So,
all right. Well, I wonder, would you talk about what it's been like for you? Yeah.
Yeah. Look, I mean,
Sara said the same thing.
She did? Okay, good. Yeah, essentially. Yeah. Look, it's surreal I think it's surreal to me that we even have a music career still. It's so hard to be in a band and keep going and to find new inspiration. And so to have the opportunity to write a book was just surreal. Now that the book is a TV show is completely absurd. I mean, we're just so lucky and grateful and truly, truly, truly humbled to be able to make art for a living. I'll start by saying that. And Clea has been such a wonderful friend and a great collaborator in the past. So it was a no-brainer that we were going to have her be involved. And I'm so appreciative that along our journey of, developing the show and finding Laura Kittrell, that she was just on board and so patient and so understanding as Sara and I sort of worked through our issues of like what should be on screen and what shouldn't, and how to fictionalize our story, and everyone's patience and understanding and humoring us that Seazynn and Railey were the twins to play us. We were really aggressive about that because there's something about them that's very special. They're so watchable, and they're portraying people who had not yet figured out who they are and had not figured out yet their art or their instrument. And so the fact that they weren't actors and musicians actually made them perfect to play us, because you can feel them finding themselves in the show. And they're so talented. I took them to the studio one weekend after another to record all the Tegan and Sara songs. And as soon as they started singing, the engineer Russell turned to me and was like, yeah, they're really good. And I'm like, yeah, they're better than us. So it's like, it's just amazing. It's surreal. I'm so happy to be a part of the show. I think it's such an important show, and I'm so grateful that it got made. And I'm just so proud of Seazynn and Railey, and just so happy for Clea and Laura, because I think they've written a really beautiful show.
Yeah. Agreed. Thank you. And Seazynn, with all of these new experiences that you've taken on to play Sara, I wonder if you would talk a little bit about what that's been like for you.
To play Sara?
Yeah, or to just be a part of this, to be acting for the first time, to be playing music.
I see.
To play someone who exists in the world. I mean, it's a lot of pressure, and you do it really well.
Oh yeah, I can say when we first started, I really felt the pressure to play someone who's sitting right next to me. But I think it was an amazing experience. I think for this to be my first experience in the industry at all I got so lucky for that to happen to me, because not a single person like on the cast or the crew was like rude or anything. Everyone was just amazing on that entire thing. And it was just full of talented and amazing people. And I just wouldn't have changed any of it.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. And Tegan, I interviewed Clea. We actually have a piece going into The Advocate about high school for this upcoming issue. So when I spoke with her, we talked a lot about the 90s, capturing the 90s and the timelessness of it. And there's something really beautiful and relatable, I think, that's going on in the show, which is this arc of you and Sara, or Tegan and Sara, discovering their sexual identity simultaneously, but, alone. And I think that really is something that kids today, who have a lot more visibility and a lot more they can turn to, there are kids who are still feeling isolated. And I think that's going to speak to some of these queer kids. And I wonder if you would talk a little bit about what it means to you to put this out in the world, knowing that it could make someone feel maybe less alone.
I mean, look, it might be too bold to say, but I think sexuality across the board is awkward. I think being an adolescent and exploring your sexuality is very stressful, and it's a lot of pressure. And we've seen thousands of films and television shows that depict the awkwardness of this. And I just don't think we've had that many that have depicted the awkwardness of being a queer teen doing that, especially in this way, which is gritty and real. And it's not like overly sexualized, but it's also not neutered in this way that we often see in teen films about queer sexuality. So, I think when we were writing the book, we tried to keep that top of mind. When we went out and sold the book, that was what we said to publishers. Like, we are not going to dumb down our story or make it safe and PG for people. Like, we were experimenting and it was intense. And yeah, and I think like kids these days, I think it's so awesome to hear you say that, Tracy, because I don't think it's easier for kids now. I think there are some things that are different. And I think there are some of the fear and maybe the stigmatization of being a queer or being trans is slightly less intense, maybe for some kids, but generally speaking, coming out, talking about sexuality is awkward. It's weird. It's uncomfortable. And I hope that, you know, when people watch the show, they can also see the good sides of it. I think Clea captured so beautifully with her direction, the longing and the of just everything, like not even your girlfriends, just like your friends and what that's like. And I think Seazynn and Railey both play that longing and that experimenting like in a way that's so classy and so beautiful. And like, even in the moments where it's like awkward, like it was so funny to be on set and have to, poor Seazynn, have to watch her like making out with Olivia, like not poor Seazynn because Olivia is very, very attractive and wonderful, but that's awkward as hell to have to do that in front of so many people. But I think it's like, it just all came together so beautifully in the show. And yeah, I think this is just still such a worthwhile tale. Like so much has changed since the 90s, but sex and sexuality, they're still so intertwined in this way. And so it's like awkward, like saying I'm gay is like drawing a diagram for people about what sex is. And it's so awkward and weird. And
yeah, it's really well done. And I so related to that heartbreak. It brought me back to something I haven't felt in a million years. And Seazynn, you did that. Like, I came out in the 80s and your performance brought me back to what it felt like to be young. And so, thank you for that beautiful performance. But I kind of want to ask you as well, what it meant to you to play this character who is queer and isolated in some ways and could possibly make queer kids today feel less alone.
I would say that it meant a lot for me to be able to play this. I knew from the beginning that it was really important after I had read the original scripts, and I had read it myself and I had thought how relatable it was just when I was in high school. And so there was nothing, when I was in high school, there was nothing like this that I had watched that made me feel more seen or more comfortable with who I am. And so I hope that now when this is out, like younger people or any age would watch this and be able to feel that way. And I just am so glad that I was able to. And I think it's just going to be really important for people to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to ask you as well about just kind of diving into the music a little bit, because this is an origin story in a bunch of ways. And one of that is with the music. So would you talk a little bit about learning about Tegan and Sara's music and then kind of diving into their earliest stuff there? And that's for you, Seazynn.
Oh.
Right? We'll hear you talk about how much you love Tegan and Sara and how you got into our music too.
Exactly.
Can I hear the question one more time? I'm sorry.
Yeah, so this is an origin story about music as well, and you and Railey are playing Tegan and Sara's earliest stuff, and I wonder if you talk a little bit about that process and becoming involved with their music.
Oh yeah. Well, before this, we did not know who they were. And after we had found out, then we had listened to their music, which is great, by the way. I'm sure you know. And but for learning their songs, we had a guitar teacher to teach us like all of the music that they had played before, and so we had to learn all of their earlier songs. I thought that was a great time. I thought it was really cool to be able to play like what they had come up with in high school. And we had actually worked together a few times, like in their trailer and back here in LA before we all went over. We were all playing the guitar over there. It was just a lot of fun.